Greetings, lovely listeners. Thanks for joining me here today on Rise and Thrive Insights, where knowledge motivates and elevates. I'm your one and only host, Matara, and I hope today you're both feeling great and looking great. Ready to learn a little, laugh a little, smile a little. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We have made it. Episode 1, the Alpha. And I'm so excited to have you all here with me today. This has certainly been a long time coming, and I am so excited for building this RTI family with you for Rise and Thrive Insights. I'd like to say I did a thing, but God really did his thing. For so long, I've wanted to reach a larger audience, to uplift their day, share some knowledge, be a motivator. For me, it's not enough to just simply do and counsel on a daily basis to those nearby. I just wanted to connect so much further. I mean, in what better way than your own social platform? I am too excited for this journey, and I hope you're all just as excited as I am. How I like to look at it is that in life there's so much that can get us down on a daily basis, and this is why we need each other. We need our community to uplift one another, to motivate each other, to elevate each other. There's room for everyone at the top, okay? Let me just say that. I know we like to think it's all a rat race. We will be talking about that coming up in future segments, but there's room for everyone in the top. Love your neighbor, spread joy, enjoy each other in the good times and the bad times. Just be there. Sometimes that's all it takes. I just really wanted to, just spread that positivity around because so often if we just change the way we see things or change the way that we respond to situations, the outcome will be 10 times better. And I just want to shed some light on a couple things, some life lessons, some future topics, just things like that. And I hope you're all excited to come along on the journey with me. My show is actually going to be broken into 3 segments. The first segment is going to be entitled Words of Wisdom with Matara. And in this segment, it's just our life lessons segment, talking a little bit about my experiences that I have had in my short, however many odd years. We won't get into details with numbers, right? But just my experiences and what I learned from it. And maybe it can help you personally not to make the same mistake, or maybe you can relate and that's something that you want to share or comment or talk about. And then we will move into segment 2, which is Tea for Therapy. In my Trade the Tea for Therapy segment, we will be doing exactly that, y'all. We will be trading those tea submissions for therapy session from me, your very own host. Of course, we would love the input of our RTI family as well. So after the segment has concluded, the weekly episode is complete, why not head on over and comment and help your other RTI members who have anonymously, gracefully submitted their teas to us in hopes of finding the best approach of how to navigate their dilemma. And this is not a segment where we gossip. This is a segment where we help, where we motivate, where we determine the best method for these individuals to take, taking the high road and not stooping lower than what the situation may have called for. These short tea story submissions can be submitted on our website, Rise and Thrive Insights. At the bottom of the home page, you will see an icon where you can click and input the information. Your city, name is optional, and just either type in the message box or add an attachment, and it will go directly to our email, and your story may be one of the stories that we respond to next. Last but not least, that would bring us to our final segment of the show, our wow segment, Wits on a Whim. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where we talk about the future. We talk about all the current events that are happening, the latest trends, forward thinking. This segment is very much forward thinking. Where are we now and where are we going? Is this a positive trend or current event? Do we think it's a negative trend or current event? Can we see both sides of the coin? Can we picture what could possibly happen next in these situations? So that will definitely wrap up our 3 segments of the show. So once again, we have our Words of Wisdom with Matar. That's our WWM section. And then we go to our second segment, which is our trade the T for therapy, our T3. Then we end off with our future, forward thinking, wits on a whim. So this podcast is set up by past, present, future, my past experiences, present situations that our RTI family is encountering, and then finally, where are we going in the future? Another part of this podcast where you guys are really going to be in for a treat is with our monthly guest stars. So, 3 weeks out of the month, you will experience your regular host, me, and we'll vibe together. We'll have a great time together. But once a month, we will have a guest star, and that guest star will just be here to have conversation with me, here to vibe out with us, and here to banter, if you will, if we have that type of chemistry. Now, we will still have the same 3 segments every single podcast. It will be our WWM, Words of Wisdom with me. It will be our Trade a T for Therapy, T3, and our Wow section, our Wits on a Whim. We will just be including our guest star for that week. Are you excited? I hope you are because I am definitely excited. You're going to get to have some family member guest stars, some friend guest stars, some who knows? Maybe one day you'll be a guest star. So, my RTI family, you've all been patient with me enough. Let's get into our very first segment of Words of Wisdom with Matara. Today, I want you to know that it's okay to pour into yourself and others. At your best self, you can elevate others and encourage them to rise and think. It's easy to do so for the ones that we love, right? But in reality, it's harder to do that for the people that perhaps we don't think is being reciprocated from. But we need to extend love to those needing extra TLC. You know, those you typically avoid, you actually, it's funny, you go out of your way to just not run into them or not make conversation or just tell yourself, I'm just going to exclude this person from my life because I don't need that negativity dragging me down. Yes, we need to make sure that we're always catering to our positive state of mind, but sometimes that doesn't always mean avoiding the people that you think are perhaps making your day sour and not sweet. Sometimes those are the people that need us most. Those are the people that don't know how to reach out to us and connect to us, but they want so badly to be in our circle, to be seen by us, to feel a part of the conversation. So that's why it's important for us to not exclude. Make them a part of your conversation. You might be surprised just how much you both have in common or just how much you might actually like that person. I was in Bible study one week and someone of my Bible study members, she said something so true and it resonated with me. She said, have you ever seen what walking into a room with somebody that doesn't like you does to them? And no, just really sit there and think about that. This is something really, really, really serious, and we see it all the time. Sometimes when there's someone that does not like you or does not like your personality or your aura, or they're just intimidated by you, you can walk into the room and automatically you see them tense up. You see their face change. You see their demeanor change. And that's really sad, you know? It is really sad because one thing I remember her saying in the Bible study is she prayed to God to not let anyone have that type of control over her. And in that moment, I absolutely agreed with her. I refused to let myself have someone have that type of control and power over me. I do not want that. Today's lesson is just to let you know that you should not give that type of energy to anyone. You should not give them that type of control in your life. It will just tear you down more than it tears them down. They're there having a great time, they're laughing, enjoying themselves, and here you are in the corner, bitter, just praying for the moment that they leave. We don't want to spend our lives like that. Life is short and it's very precious. We want to spend as many joyous days as we can. Obstacles, they naturally come in the way. So let's not add to those natural obstacles by creating our own. Just be happy. Just learn to overcome. Pour into yourself and pour into others. That is exactly what this segment of Words of Wisdom with Matara is about today. Just by pouring into yourself, you will naturally find the good in your heart to set yourself apart from the pack, set yourself apart from the rest. On that note, RTI family, you guessed it, it's time for us to trade that tea for therapy. Our first tea submission is local from right here in Orlando. I was talking to a guy I matched with on Bumble for about 2 weeks before we started texting, and he eventually asked me out to dinner. He picked the restaurant. We were having a good conversation leading up to the date, and when the date came, he was on time, held the door, but clearly lied about his height. He claimed he was 5'8", but I'm 5'2", and he wasn't even an inch taller than me. I was wearing flats. I chose to ignore the lies since it wasn't that far off, and we had a great time. He ordered alcohol, an appetizer, which I didn't have any of, and an entree. I ordered a soda, entree, and dessert, which we shared. All of his stuff added up to more than half the bill. I had a gift card. I had a $50 gift card I was intending to use to pay my half of the bill if needed, but instead I paid for the whole $46 check on my gift card. I asked him to pay the tip, to which he did begrudgingly, and made it known that he was not happy about it. He texted me once after to continue our conversation, and then after that, he ghosted me, and we haven't spoken since. Ooh, RTI family, listeners, what do we think? Lovely listeners, let's take some time to narrow in on this situation. This is definitely the type of lady we want as part of our RTI family. For so many reasons, let's give her props. So, first off, this individual told her a lie about his height, and she turned the other cheek and decided that it's not that important to her. She's having a good time. It's not that important. He's a gentleman who opened the door and invited her out. Excellent, excellent first move to ignore height, because although it may have been a lie, that tends to be an insecurity for many. So she was able to look past that. So I definitely say kudos there. We have to give props where props is due. Another admirable thing that this young lady did was decide to cover the entire bill. She came prepared to go Dutch. Whatever she consumed, she would handle. Whatever he consumed, he would handle. But who knows? They must have been having such a great time. And she clearly has a kind heart. She decided to just cover the whole bill. Because why not, right? He will take care of the tip. But how are you upset to pay the tip when you not only invited a young lady out on a first date, but she even went as far as to be willing to go Dutch and then took it a step further to use her entire gift card for your full meal? When in reality, you also ate the most. So I don't. How do you guys feel about that? Now let's get transparent. You were absolutely standing on business. You came to the date and you executed. You did exactly what you had to do. You were kind enough to ignore a lie that was presented before you. You then paid for dinner, and you were still humble enough to admit that even though he was a bit stingy, you still had a good time. Now let's talk about this one time text after the date and then being ghosted. Being ghosted is essentially the phrase. However, consider yourself lucky. I would consider myself lucky because you can't really speak for the future, but that seems like a situation that could potentially be toxic, where you are being filled with a lot of what we call untruths. And also, it seems like not only would things not be 50-50 in that relationship, but it seems like things could barely even be 90-10. So it may not be exactly what you want to hear. You may have had a really good chemistry, enjoyed yourself, had a great time, but in order for a situation like this to work, or if he were to ever even pop back up, there would have to be a drastic change, because you seem like a very kind soul. And in life, one thing I have learned is that too often, if you are really sweet and kind and humble, you can be all those things, but you must stand on business, or else people will definitely try to take advantage of you. And now it's time for our final segment. Wow, Wits on a Whim. So let's head on over. I have to say, when did us 90s babies just blink and all of a sudden we're out of diapers, getting married, buying houses, having babies? Whew, turning 30. Yes, turning 30. Let's talk about that. Although the aging process might not always feel like a beautiful one, it is definitely a beautiful thing to be aging, because that means that you're still alive, you're still here, kicking in the land of the living. And speaking of the land of the living, how many of you guys have seen this new popular trend where those from their 90s are kicking their 20s goodbye and saying hello to their 30s? But how they're doing it is quite interesting. So it's basically like them saying RIP 20s, hello 30s. And by doing that, they have black cake, black decorations, black attire, all their guests do. And some of them, on the flip side, have the opposite, vibrant colors. So they're bouncing from one and into the other. I do get the concept. It's actually very, very clever. Now, do I like the darker side of it? I am definitely a bright person. And here at Rise and Drive Insights, we try to spread positivity. So, although I very much get the concept, would I personally do it? No, it's not for me. What do you guys think? Would you do it? Have you done it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Be sure to leave some comments in the comment section, and we can definitely have this as a brief discussion. But that wraps up this week's segment of Wits on a Whim, nice and quick. Next week, be sure to tune in to Wits on a Whim, because we got to talk about what's up with those Stanley Cups, right? And that brings us to the end of today's episode, our very first episode on Rise and Thrive Insights. I'm Matara, your one and only host, and I do hope that today you have laughed, smiled, learned something new, and are leaving here with a burst of positivity and motivation to elevate your day and week ahead. Be sure to tap into my website, riseandthriveinsights.com. And on all socials, we are Rise and Thrive Insights. You can find our page on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. Tap in. This is exciting. These are exciting times. Share with your family, friends. If you love it, if you like it, if you laughed, if it's somewhere you want to see yourself coming back to week after week to join me, and the week that we have our guest stars, please show your love and support. And once again, you are my RTI family. Stay safe and motivated until next week.